The restaurant was dying. Sarah stood behind the counter of Olive and Thyme, her family's little bistro in the heart of town, staring at another empty dining room. Just a few months ago, it had been full, couples on dates, families laughing, locals raving about her late mother's recipes. But times had changed. Competition was fierce, bills were piling up, and Sarah was on the edge of closing the doors forever. The worst part? She felt like she was letting her mother down. Olive and Thyme wasn't just a business, it was her family's legacy. One rainy afternoon, as she sat with stacks of unpaid invoices, the bell over the door jingled. A tall man walked in, soaked to the bone, carrying a little girl wrapped in a worn pink jacket. "Are you still hiring?" he asked softly, almost embarrassed. Sarah blinked. She wasn't hiring. She could barely pay the 2 cooks she had. But something about his eyes, tired yet hopeful, made her pause. "I'm a single dad," he explained quickly. "I'll do anything. Dishes, cleaning, whatever you need. Please." Sarah's practical side screamed no. But desperation meets desperation in strange ways. Against her better judgment, she nodded. "Fine. You can start tomorrow." His name was Daniel. And though he was quiet, there was something steady about him. He worked hard, cleaned tables, washed dishes, even helped fix the leaky sink without being asked. His daughter, Lily, sat in the corner with crayons, always smiling whenever he looked her way. Days passed, but customers didn't return. Sarah felt the weight of failure pressing harder. One evening, exhausted and defeated, she slumped in the kitchen while Daniel finished mopping. He hesitated, then said, "I used to cook, nothing fancy, but, may I try something?" Too tired to argue, Sarah waved her hand. That night, Daniel pulled out simple ingredients, onions, tomatoes, a pinch of dried herbs Sarah had nearly thrown away. He moved with ease, almost like someone painting a canvas. The air filled with a rich aroma that stopped Sarah in her tracks. "What is that?" she asked. "Just, my mom's recipe," he said with a small smile. She called it her comfort stew. It kept us warm when we had nothing. The next day, Sarah put it on the menu, just to test. 1 bowl. 1 customer. And to her shock, that customer came back with 3 friends the following evening. Word spread like wildfire. People didn't just eat the stew, they talked about it. They said it felt like home. Within weeks, Olive and Thyme had lines out the door again. The failing bistro was alive. But the twist came one Friday night, when a food critic, known for tearing small restaurants apart, showed up unannounced. Sarah panicked. Daniel calmly stepped in, served his stew with a warm piece of bread, and said, "This recipe isn't about fancy cooking. It's about love." The critic's review? The dish that reminds you of what it means to be human. Sarah couldn't stop the tears when she read it. Not just because her restaurant was saved, but because she realized something deeper. Daniel hadn't just given her a recipe. He'd given her hope. One evening, after closing, Sarah looked at him and said, "Why didn't you tell me you could cook like that?" He shrugged. "I guess. I didn't think anyone would care. But someone did." Sarah cared. The customers cared. And most importantly, Lily cared, because now her dad had a stable job and a future. Sarah decided then and there, Olive and Thyme wasn't just hers anymore. It was theirs. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't just her mother's legacy anymore, it was the beginning of something new. The restaurant lived on, not because of money or marketing, but because 2 people, broken in different ways, chose kindness when they could have turned away. Sometimes, the secret ingredient really is love. This story shows that kindness, second chances, and human connection can turn desperation into hope. It reminds us that sometimes the people we least expect can bring us exactly what we need, and more.